The false victory. Captain Sarah Chen gripped the command chair of the mining vessel Perseverance as explosions lit up the asteroid field around them. The sleek, predatory ships of the Corvani Empire moved through space like silver daggers, their energy weapons carving through human installations with terrifying efficiency. What had started as a routine mining operation in the Outer Rim had become a nightmare of destruction and death. "Captain, we're receiving distress calls from 15 different mining stations," reported Communications Officer Torres, his voice tight with fear. "The Corvani are hitting everything. They're not taking prisoners." Sarah watched through the viewport as the mining station on asteroid Delta 7 erupted in a brilliant fireball. 300 workers had called that rock home just moments before. Now it was nothing but expanding debris and superheated gas. Her knuckles turned white as she squeezed the armrests of her chair. "How many ships are we looking at?" she asked, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. "Long-range sensors show 47 Corvani vessels," answered sensor technician Liu from her station. "They're using some kind of advanced cloaking technology. We didn't detect them until they were already firing." The Perseverance was a civilian vessel, equipped with basic mining lasers and light armor plating. Against the Corvani war fleet, they might as well have been throwing rocks at a battleship. But Sarah had spent 15 years working the asteroid belt, and she knew these rocks better than any alien invader ever could. "Plot a course through the debris field of Station Alpha 3, she ordered. "Use the wreckage for cover. We need to get word back to Earth about what's happening out here." As the Perseverance weaved between chunks of twisted metal and frozen atmosphere, Sarah's mind raced. The Corvani Empire had been making threats for months, claiming that humanity was expanding too aggressively into what they considered their territory. But most people had dismissed them as posturing. The Corvani were known throughout the galaxy as a proud but relatively peaceful species. This level of organized destruction was completely out of character. "Captain," Torres called out urgently, "we're receiving a transmission from Fleet Command. The Earth Defense Fleet is mobilizing. They're sending everything they have to protect the outer colonies." Sarah felt a surge of hope. The Earth Defense Fleet was the pride of humanity's military. 50 ships of the line, including the massive battleship Defiant and her sister ships. If anyone could stop the Corvani advance, it would be Admiral Harrison and his experienced crews. Through the chaos of the battle around them, Sarah caught sight of something that made her heart soar. Emerging from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, the Earth Defense Fleet materialized like angels of salvation. The human ships were smaller than the Corvani vessels, but they moved with precision and purpose that spoke of countless hours of training and preparation. The Defiant led the charge, her massive railguns already spinning up to firing speed. The other human ships spread out in a defensive formation, their missile tubes loaded and energy shields at maximum power. For a moment, Sarah allowed herself to believe that humanity's military might would be enough to drag off the invaders. The initial exchange of fire was spectacular. Human railgun rounds hammered into Corvani shields, while alien energy beams lanced out in return. Space lit up with the deadly dance of interstellar warfare. The human ships fought with skill and determination, using superior tactics to make up for their technological disadvantages. But as the battle progressed, the terrible truth became apparent. The Corvani had not come to this fight unprepared. Their ships mounted weapons and defenses far beyond anything in human military databases. Energy beams that could punch through meter-thick armor plating. Shields that could absorb direct hits from nuclear warheads. Most terrifying of all, some kind of exotic matter weapon that could simply erase sections of human ships from existence. Sarah watched in horror as the human cruiser Marathon simply vanished. One moment it was firing missiles at a Corvani destroyer. The next it was gone, as if it had never existed. Not destroyed, not exploded, just gone. "Dear God," whispered Navigation Officer Park. "What kind of weapons are those?" The battle began to turn. Human ships, valiant as they were, started falling one by one. The Defiant fought magnificently, her crew pushing the old battleship beyond her design limits. But even Admiral Harrison's tactical brilliance could not overcome the sheer technological superiority of the Corvani war fleet. "Captain," Lou reported, her voice barely above a whisper, "the Defiant is breaking up. Her reactor core is going critical." Sarah closed her eyes as the flagship of the Earth Defense Fleet died in nuclear fire. Admiral Harrison and 800 crew members had just become martyrs for humanity's survival. Around the expanding fireball, the remaining human ships fought on, but their position was hopeless. Within 3 hours, it was over. The Earth Defense Fleet had been annihilated. Every ship destroyed, every crew lost. The Corvani had won a complete victory, and the path to Earth's inner systems lay open before them. Fleet Commander Zexkar stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Dominion, and watched the last human ship die. The small escort vessel had fought bravely, continuing to fire even as its hull was torn apart by Corvani weapons. But bravery meant nothing against superior technology and overwhelming force. "Status report," Zexkar commanded, his 4 arms crossed behind his back in the traditional Corvani pose of authority. "All human military vessels destroyed," reported his tactical officer. "We have confirmed kills on 50 human warships, including their primary battleship. Our own losses are minimal. 3 ships with minor damage, no casualties." Zexkar nodded, his large eyes reflecting satisfaction. The humans had reputation for stubbornness and ingenuity, but they were clearly no match for the Corvani military machine. This victory proved that humanity's expansion into the galaxy could be stopped with a single decisive blow. "What about their colonies and industrial facilities?" he asked. "All outer rim installations have been destroyed or abandoned," came the reply. "Intelligence suggests that Earth's inner colonies are lightly defended. With their main fleet eliminated, they have no meaningful military resistance remaining." The fleet commander allowed himself a moment of triumph. High Consul Vorth had been right. The humans were a young species, barely a few centuries removed from their primitive homeworld. They had advanced quickly, but they lacked the experience and wisdom of older galactic civilizations. This demonstration of Corvani power would ensure they knew their place. "Send a message to Earth," Zexkar ordered. "Inform them that their military force has been eliminated. They will withdraw from all disputed territories and accept Corvani oversight of their expansion, or face the same fate as their outer colonies." As the message was transmitted toward Earth, Zexkar felt satisfied that the war was essentially over. The humans had shown they could fight, but they had also shown they could be beaten. There would be no further resistance worth mentioning. Hidden in the shadow of a shattered asteroid, the Perseverance watched the Corvani fleet gather for their next move. Sarah had managed to keep her ship hidden throughout the entire battle, recording everything on long-range sensors. The data she had gathered would be crucial for Earth's defense planners. "Are you getting all this?" she asked Torres. "Every detail, Captain. Energy signatures, weapon types, shield configurations. If Earth Command can analyze this data, they might find weaknesses we can exploit." Sarah nodded grimly. The Earth Defense Fleet was gone, but humanity was far from defeated. She had grown up hearing stories of human determination in the face of impossible odds. Her grandfather had fought in the colony wars. Her father had helped establish the first asteroid mining operations. Humans did not surrender easily. "Set course for Earth," she ordered. "Maximum burn. We need to get this information to Fleet Command before the Corvani reach the inner system." As the Perseverance accelerated away from the battlefield, Sarah took one last look at the debris field that had once been humanity's finest warships. The Corvani might think they had won the war, but they clearly did not understand human nature. This defeat would not break humanity's spirit. If anything, it would make them more dangerous. Deep in the outer darkness of the solar system, far beyond the orbits of the outermost planets, automated sensors detected the approaching Corvani fleet. The signals were immediately transmitted to a cluster of facilities hidden in the void between stars. These installations had been under construction for 20 years, built in absolute secrecy using resources diverted from civilian projects. In the command center of Construction Platform Alpha, Director Amanda Foster received the alert with grim satisfaction. The Corvani had taken the bait perfectly. They believed they had destroyed humanity's military capability, just as the strategic planners had hoped they would. Now the real war could begin. "Signal all construction yards," Foster ordered. "Activate the sleeping giants. It's time for the galaxy to see what humanity can really build when we put our minds to it." The Dreadnought Revelation. Admiral Marcus Steele had been waiting in the dark for this moment for 15 years. Standing on the command bridge of the Leviathan, he watched as the massive Dreadnought systems came online for the first time. The ship stretched nearly 3 kilometers from bow to stern, her hull bristling with weapons that existed nowhere in official military records. Around her, 6 sister ships of equal size and power prepared for humanity's answer to the Corvani Empire. "All systems are green, Admiral," reported Chief Engineer Dr. Elena Vasquez over the internal comm. "Fusion cores at full power, gravitational drives ready for engagement. The Leviathan is ready for war." Steele nodded, his weathered face reflecting years of preparation for this moment. He had been handpicked to command humanity's secret fleet, chosen for his tactical brilliance and absolute discretion. For 2 decades, he had overseen the construction of weapons that the galaxy had never seen before. "Status of the other ships?" he asked. "The Colossus, Behemoth, Titan, Goliath, Kraken, and Dreadnought are all reporting ready status," came the reply from his communications officer. "Captain Rodriguez aboard the Colossus requests permission to begin the approach to Earth." "Denied," Steele said calmly. "We wait for the Corvani to fully commit to their attack on the inner system. Let them think they've already won. The surprise will be more complete." On the tactical display, Steele could see the Corvani fleet moving steadily toward Earth. 47 ships that had just annihilated the visible Earth defense fleet, filled with confidence and the certainty of victory. Fleet Commander Zexkar had no idea that he was walking into the most carefully prepared trap in military history. The concept for the Dreadnought fleet had begun 25 years ago, when human intelligence first detected signs of advanced alien civilizations in nearby star systems. Earth's leaders had realized that humanity's expansion into the galaxy would inevitably bring them into conflict with older, more established species. Traditional military thinking would have called for building larger versions of existing ships, but humanity had chosen a different path. Dr. Elena Vasquez had been a young physicist then, working on theoretical applications of gravitational manipulation. Her early experiments had shown that it might be possible to build ships that could alter local spacetime, creating weapons and defenses that operated on principles no other species had mastered. The military had given her unlimited resources and absolute secrecy to develop her theories into reality. The result was the Dreadnought class, ships that did not merely travel through space, but could bend space around them. Weapons that could create localized gravitational anomalies capable of crushing enemy vessels like tin cans. Defensive systems that could redirect incoming fire into parallel dimensions. Each Dreadnought represented technology that was decades ahead of anything in the known galaxy. "Admiral," reported Captain Sarah Chen from her position at the sensor station. The mining ship captain had been recruited into the Dreadnought program after her arrival at Earth with crucial intelligence about Corvani capabilities. The Corvani fleet has passed the orbital defense platforms around Jupiter. They're broadcasting surrender demands to Earth. Steele smiled coldly. "Let them broadcast. In 12 hours, they'll discover that humanity doesn't surrender. Send the activation signal to all ships. It's time for the galaxy to meet Earth's real navy." Throughout the outer solar system, 7 massive shapes began to move. The Dreadnoughts had been built in sections at hidden construction yards, then assembled in the deep void where no sensors could detect them. For years they had waited in the darkness, their crews training in absolute secrecy for the day when humanity would reveal its true strength. The Leviathan led the formation as they accelerated toward the inner system. Her gravitational drives created ripples in space-time that would have been visible to any species advanced enough to detect them. But the Corvani were focused entirely on their approaching victory over Earth. They never thought to scan the void behind them. Aboard the Corvani flagship Dominion, Fleet Commander Zexkar reviewed the surrender terms he intended to impose on the human species. They would be allowed to retain their homeworld, but all interstellar expansion would cease. Human technology would be shared with the Corvani Empire. Most importantly, humanity would acknowledge Corvani's superiority in all matters of galactic politics. "Sir," reported his sensor operator, "we're detecting some unusual gravitational disturbances behind our formation. The readings are consistent with large mass objects approaching at high speed." Zexkar barely glanced at the display. "Asteroids, most likely. This system is known for its unstable orbital mechanics. Maintain course toward the human homeworld." But the sensor operator was persistent. "Sir, the gravitational signatures are too regular to be natural objects, and they're accelerating in a way that suggests artificial propulsion." This time Zexkar did look at the display, and what he saw made his blood run cold. 7 massive contacts were approaching from the outer system, each one larger than any ship in his fleet. But that was impossible. Human intelligence had been thoroughly analyzed. They had no ships larger than their battleships, and those had all been destroyed. "Full sensor sweep of those contacts," he ordered urgently, "and get me a tactical analysis immediately." The results that came back defied belief. The approaching ships were enormous, measuring nearly 3 kilometers in length. Their energy signatures were unlike anything in Corvani databases. Most disturbing of all, they were approaching at speeds that should have been impossible for ships of their size. "Sir," his tactical officer reported with barely controlled fear, "those ships are emitting gravitational fields that are actually bending space around them. I've never seen technology like this." Zexkar stared at the display as the impossible human ships continued their approach. In that moment, he realized that the Corvani Empire had made a catastrophic error. The Earth Defense Fleet had not been humanity's real military. It had been a decoy, meant to lure the Corvani into revealing their capabilities, while Earth's true strength remained hidden. "All ships, prepare for combat," he ordered. "Signal the Empire. Tell them we may have underestimated the humans." The space battle that followed would be remembered as the turning point in galactic history. The Corvani fleet, which had seemed invincible just hours before, found themselves facing weapons and defenses they could barely comprehend. The Leviathan's gravitational lance created localized distortions in spacetime that crushed Corvani ships like invisible hands. The Colossus generated defensive fields that redirected enemy fire into pocket dimensions. The Behemoth deployed weapons that could literally erase matter from existence. One by one, the proud ships of the Corvani Empire were systematically destroyed. Their energy weapons, which had seemed so powerful against human conventional forces, barely scratched the Dreadnoughts' exotic defenses. Their advanced tactics, honed over centuries of warfare, meant nothing against opponents who could manipulate the fundamental forces of physics. Fleet Commander Zexkar watched from his bridge as his fleet died around him. The Dominion was one of the last ships still fighting, her shields failing under the assault of weapons that operated on principles he could not understand. In desperation, he opened a communication channel to the approaching human ships. "This is Fleet Commander Zexkar of the Corvani Empire," he transmitted. "I request terms for surrender." The response came from Admiral Steele aboard the Leviathan. "There are no terms, Commander. You came to our home system to destroy our species. You killed millions of innocent civilians in our outer colonies. You declared war on humanity, and now you face the consequences. Please," Zexkar pleaded, "my government did not understand your true capabilities. This was a mistake." "Yes," Steele replied coldly, "it was your mistake. You assumed that what you could see was all there was. You forgot the first rule of war against humans. We always have another plan." The last Corvani ship died in the cold vacuum of space 48 hours after the Dreadnoughts revealed themselves. Not a single human ship was lost in the battle. The technological superiority was so complete that it had been less a battle than a demonstration. In the aftermath, Admiral Steele stood in the observation lounge of the Leviathan, looking out at the wreckage of the Corveni fleet. Captain Sarah Chen joined him, her mining ship now serving as a liaison vessel between the Dreadnoughts and Earth Command. "The galaxy is going to be very different now," she observed. Steele nodded. "Humanity has been underestimated for the last time. Word of this battle will spread to every species in known space. They'll all want to know how we built ships like these, how we developed technology they thought was impossible. And what will we tell them?" Sarah asked. The Admiral smiled, the expression transforming his stern features. "We'll tell them the truth, that humans don't just survive, we adapt. We learn, we build, and when someone threatens our home, we build things that make sure it never happens again." Behind them, the 7 dreadnoughts of humanity's secret fleet moved into formation around Earth. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson about underestimating the species from Sol II. Humanity had revealed that they were not just another young civilization struggling to find their place among the stars. They were the inheritors of a world that had taught them that survival required constant innovation, endless determination, and the wisdom to prepare for wars that might never come. The Corveni Empire would eventually rebuild, but they would never again threaten human space. Word of the Dreadnoughts spread throughout the galaxy, carrying with it a simple message that every species understood. Humanity was no longer prey. They had become the apex predator of known space, and their fleets waited in the darkness, ready to remind anyone who forgot that humans always had another plan.